The X-Men will be reintroduced into the MCU here shortly. But who is going to play these most legendary characters? Well, I'll leave it up to me, Chris Chavis, your host, to fill in that blanks. Welcome to my fan cast of who's going to be the MCU X-Men edition. Roll that intro. Hello, friends of the Nerd News. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Chris Chavis, in case you didn't know that. And in today's episode, like I said in the introduction, and as you saw in the thumbnail, we're going to talk about X-Men fan casting. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because during this quarantine, I watched a lot of the X-Men movies, if not all of them. And there were some really, really good casting choices, really bad casting choices. But then when you realize that they're going to come back to the MCU, things have to start all over again from square one, or square X. That was stupid. Bad joke. So in the spirit of good fun, I'm going to do my own fan casting. But before we dive into today's excellent episode, see what I did there? Excellent. If this is your first time visiting my channel, please select the like, the subscribe, the notification bell. That notification bell will give you adamantium claws. All right, so the X-Men. Now, when we first say the name X-Men, the first thing that pops in your mind is Hugh Jackman. You wouldn't think that. Yet again, bad joke. There's a lot of puns in this episode. Sorry. But rightfully so. Hugh Jackman pretty much embodies that whole franchise. Because, I mean, all of the movies revolve around Wolverine. Now, I wanted to do this casting list not based off of those movies. No. I wanted to recast the new cast members of the X-Men in the MCU, but based off of the 90s TV animated series. If you haven't seen the animated series from the 90s, you should. It's on Disney+. And in some regards, it's better than the actual films. Because the writers paid attention to, the whole thing called source material. Come on. So we're going to start this in no particular order, and the actors and actresses that I think should play the X-Men in the MCU. Okay, we're going to start this list off right away with the villain. Now, we all know one of the X-Men's most feared and legendary villain is that of Magneto. Now, in the 90s cartoon, Magneto is portrayed as the little older of a gentleman, but not so old like, Ian McKellen. And Ian McKellen did a fantastic job. In the animated series, he's kind of almost like a Lex Luthor, in the means of he's like playing chess with everyone. He sets everyone up for his own personal gain, or just sometimes he just wants to watch the world burn. I mean, in the animated series, you hate him, you love him, you understand him, you agree with him. It's a perfect villain. Ian McKellen is a magnificent actor. He was such a good casting choice, but if they're going to redo the entire cast, I think the actor they should replace him with is Jeremy Irons. Now, yes, Jeremy Irons already was in a comic book movie. He was in Batman vs. Superman and Justice League. He was Alfred. But he plays such a good villain. There are two good examples of Jeremy Irons as a villain that would be perfect to adapt him as Magneto. Jeremy Irons was the main villain in Die Hard 3. He played Simon Gruber. Now, that character is exactly like Magneto in the 90s animated show. Now, that character in Die Hard 3, he was the puppet master. He was playing chess with all the pieces that he had, John McClane being the main, chess piece. And in that case, you take out John McClane and you put Professor X and the X-Men, and he's just a master manipulator, and he's pretty lethal and deadly with the crew that he has, and that crew could be the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Another character that he's played in the past, Scar from The Lion King. Now, that is the angry, ruthless, I want what I want, I don't care what you say, but still the Puppet Master chess piece kind of playing character. We all know Scar. And plus, Jeremy Irons is older now. He has the silver hair, and it matches the cartoon perfectly, which also matches the Jim Lee comic book that we all have read. If you've read the comic book, you have to. It's good. So my choice for Magneto is Jeremy Irons. Next, we're going to move on to one of the original members of the X-Men, and that of Storm. Now, Storm in the animated series is very proud of her heritage. She's really proud of where she's from. She embraces it, and she protects her family and the people that she was raised with, even sometimes putting her own life in danger. Now, in the film adaptation, Halle Berry was Storm. Now, there's something about that didn't actually rub me the right way. Something was a little off with that casting. Now, it could be worse. There could have been Anna Paquin as Rogue, maybe. We'll get to that later. But my choice to play the new Storm in the MCU is Angela Bassett. Now, in countless movies, Angela Bassett has shown that she is a woman who is very prideful, who, lifts her head up, and she will not take, nothing. She won't take any guff from anyone. That's right, I said guff. It's a G-rated show. Can't say other words. Sorry. But a good example of, besides her acting chops, there was one movie that she was in where she actually looked more like Storm than the actual character she was portraying. That's when she was T'Challa's mom in Black Panther. She had the white wig, and well, she looked identical to Storm. Of course, I don't know the age that they're going to base these characters off when they come to the MCU, but if they do an older Storm, bam, Angela Bassett is your girl. So my choice for Storm, Angela Bassett, baby. Next, we're going to move on to the leader of the X-Men, or the founder of the X-Men, Professor Charles Xavier. Now, Charles Xavier in the animated show was exactly like he was throughout all the movies. He was the leader. He would protect all the mutants, big, small, good, bad, it doesn't matter. He even created a school. He was exactly like he was in the comics. It was perfect. And Patrick Stewart, Patrick Stewart was the ideal end-all and be-all casting choice for Professor X. It's like Hugh Jackman. There's no one else that could play that role besides Patrick Stewart. But in my mind, I am going to select an actor. But in my mind, I'm going to select an actor who is insanely good at his craft, who actually should have been a character in Batman vs. Superman, but that studio blew their chance. I'm talking about Bryan Cranston. Yeah, Bryan Cranston should have been Lex Luthor, just saying. But Bryan Cranston, come on, if you've seen Breaking Bad, you know he can be goofy, you know he can be silly, you know he can be protective, you know he can be dangerous. He is the danger. He's the one who knocks, right? Remember? And just picturing him, we know what ear looks like bald already. Now, Bryan Cranston has an air about him where you listen to him, and what he says, you actually follow through, and you're like, oh my God, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Just in Breaking Bad, he got out of I don't know how many situations, besides actually using chemistry to get out of situations, or running people over, or shooting them. There are sometimes he uses his words to, motivationally move others. And so my casting choice is Bryan Cranston as Professor Charles Xavier. Now, my next character we've only seen once in the live-action movies, and it wasn't that good. We're going to move on to Gambit. Now, Gambit in the animated series, he is a ladies' man. He is a smooth talker. He is a thief. But he will protect his own and himself. Mainly himself more than his own. In the animated series, he's always trying to get in Rogue's pants. Seriously, he's always trying to hook up with Rogue. And what does she do with her really thick southern drawl?
Well, shoot, darling, you're sweet as pie, but I'm taken. Sorry.
See? Now, the only time that we actually see this character in a live-action film is X-Men Origins Wolverine. Such a bad movie. And it had its moments, but such a bad movie. And Gambit in that film was portrayed by Taylor Kitsch. This guy. Now, there's certain things about Taylor playing this character that I like. There's some that I didn't like, but mainly it was just how they portrayed Gambit. It was kind of off. Okay, it was way off. Now, we know that Channing Tatum was next up in line to play Gambit in a new Gambit solo movie, but that movie has been in production hell. So at this point, Channing Tatum probably won't be Gambit, so I think I found a better replacement. If you've seen the show Lost, then you know the actor, Mr. Josh Holloway. Now, Josh Holloway is just, first of all, he looks identical to Gambit. Seriously. Just put that mask on him and that suit, and it's Gambit. All he has to do is learn that gumbo drawl, But his character in Lost was a great example. But I think he can play that playboy kind of I'm gonna steal your girl and then I'm gonna take your wallet kind of character. I think he will embody Gambit perfectly, if not a little bit better than Channing. But the thing is, Gambit also needs to be a pretty boy, but you also gotta fear him. That's why I think he is that perfect borderline of he's an attractive guy, but he's also a very rough individual. So, Josh Holloway, you're my Gambit. Next, we're gonna move on to the furry, hairy, mangled character, mangled hair, Beast. On the 90s show, Beast was an intellectual beast. He could recite you poems, he could recite you anything in the dictionary. The man was a living thesaurus, let's just say. He was a very smart person, and he was also a very terrifying individual that could rip you off and hang upside down with his feet. Well, we've seen Beast a couple of times in the movies as younger and older, but Kelsey Grammer was actually really into casting as Beast, I loved him because, let's just be honest, it was Fraser with muscles. And that was actually perfect because Fraser, he has that intellect. He's really smart. He can recite, just like I said, he can recite the dictionary. He knows all of Shakespeare's sonnets. That's Beast. But my choice to play Beast is David Harbour. Now, we all know David Harbour from Stranger Things as Hopper, but he also played Hellboy, which is a perfect blend. Because think about it, David Harbour is a very funny man, but he's also a very tough, and he will destroy you with a punch kind of man. And I think acting-wise, he could really do a really amazing performance by switching, by flipping that switch and becoming a very strong intellect and being very polite and very, upright character in the way that he would deliver those specific lines. And then you would add the brutality to that, and it's a perfect yin and yang for that character. So David Harbour, if you're watching this, you're probably not because you don't even know I exist. You are my Beast. Next, we're going to move on to a character who will rival that of Captain Marvel and that of Rogue. Now, Rogue in the animated series was, well, you heard her earlier. She's very Southern. Very, 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 very Southern. She oozes that sex appeal, and also she oozes that, I will destroy your larynx with one flick of my finger. And that's one aspect of Rogue that they really didn't capture, at all in the movies. In the live-action adaptation, Rogue was played by Anna Paquin. Now, she was fine in the first X-Men, the original. That was great. She was younger. She was learning her powers, blah, blah, blah. Fine, I got it. Origin story, love it. Let's move on. But that's like her origin story continued throughout all the movies. She wasn't strong. She couldn't fly. All she could do was suck the power out of you by touching you. So you need an actress to embody that is I'm very attracted to you, but I'm also terrified of you. Should I not, do something nice for you? Now, the last time we saw Rogue in the live action movie it was Anna Paquin as Rogue. So my choice for the new Rogue is Jessica Zarr. Now, Jessica Zarr, she is an actress who is well known for Gossip Girl, but I think she would embody the character perfectly. I mean, she can play someone who is very strong, very, their head up, much like how Angela Bassett is. But she's also very pretty and could really work with that sex appeal that Rogue has. And that's what Rogue should be. She should be like a Bond girl that you're afraid of. And I think she would look exactly identical to the character once they, do that curly hair and the little white strip on it. She would embody the character absolutely perfect. And she wouldn't be Anna Paquin. Or, for those that watch True Blood, she wouldn't be Sookie. All right, 2 more, guys. 2 more. Next, we're going to move on to the leader of the X-Men, and that of Cyclops. Now, Cyclops, in the animated series, he was the leader. He played it by the books. He didn't stray from the agenda. He was the Boy Scout. He was Captain America. And in the movies, James Marsden was the actor who portrayed him, which I thought he was fine. The movies really didn't give Cyclops a lot to do. Cyclops is a really neat character, and I think just regardless on the X-Men, he needs his own, just something to redeem that character, because he's actually a really cool character. And my choice for the new Cyclops is Nicholas Casawaldo. Now, in case you don't know that name, you know the face. That's right, Jaime Lannister. A Lannister always pays his debts. Now, I love him as an actor. He's fantastic. And when he leads the army to all the battles that they had in that show, you're like, yeah, Jamie, let's do this. Let's go to battle. He also looks just like Cyclops, just put the visor on, cover those baby blues. But I think his acting chops and his ability to lead or to take a scene, and to capture your imagination in that scene and take your attention solely and base it off of him, I think he can do that. So that is my choice for Cyclops. You were the man, Jamie. I'm just going to call you Jamie because I never can say your last name. Jaime Lannister. All right, and last on this list, we can't do this fan casting without mentioning the man, the myth, the legend, and that of Wolverine. Now, in the animated series, Wolverine is exactly like you would think he was. He was a very short man who was very angry. He just didn't care. In almost every scene, he would take jabs at Gambit, at Cyclops, at Beast, even sometimes at Jubilee. That's rough. But Wolverine is one of those characters that is very well known. And yet again, when you think of it, it's like Superman. You think of Christopher Reeves. Hugh Jackman is the only replacement for this role, the only actor that could play it. But the man said he's done, and so we must move on. As amazing as Logan was, we gotta accept that era of Hugh is over. You won't see that again. So my casting choice for the new Wolverine is Richard Armitage. Now, you might not know the name, But if you've seen The Hobbit, then you know who he is. Now, Richard played Thorin in all three of The Hobbits. And the reason why I'm choosing Richard over every actor in Hollywood is because in The Hobbit, there were moments where I was like, oh my god, that's Wolverine. He had that grittiness to him, that like animal instinct of something's gonna happen and I don't care. I'm gonna put myself forward and I'm gonna take care of this no matter what happens. He has that animal instinct in that movie, and the actor, the way that he delivers his lines, he sometimes sounds like Hugh Jackman. Heck, Richard was even on a Broadway show, I think he was doing Les Mis, and well, this is what he looks like. That's right, he looks identical to Hugh Jackman. I guess what I'm saying is, I want someone who looks like Hugh Jackman. But I mean, we need an actor who is known, but not so well known, where it takes away from the amazingness that is Wolverine. And I think Richard can really take this character to a new place. Richard isn't as tall as Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman was like 6-something. Wolverine is smaller, and I think height-wise, Richard is just about the 5'10", 5'9" range that Wolverine is. But I know some people were wanting like Tom Hardy. Even some people wanted Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine. That's weird. That's weird. But Richard, you are my Wolverine, and I hope you get a call. I hope that someone sees this and Marvel's like, yeah, kid, you're good. Let's call Richard. But guys, that is my list for the X-Men actors and actresses who I think should be in the MCU for this brand new recast reboot of this amazing franchise. And if there's another actor or actress that you think is a better fit for these characters, let me know in the comments below, because I would generally like to hear what you think. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode. And yet again, if you like this episode, please like and subscribe. I love doing these shows, and I hope you enjoy watching them. And until next time, guys, please stay safe, enjoy life, laugh, smile, watch good movies, or else I'm coming for you, bub.